Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There's something quite extraordinary that happens from time to time between human beings. Something that defies all our clever explanations, all our rational frameworks, all our attempts to reduce the mystery of existence to mere biology or social conditioning. It's that peculiar moment when two people meet and there's an immediate sense of familiarity, as if they've known each other, well, forever, really. Now, here's the thing. We live in a world that tells us everything can be explained, that every feeling, every connection, every spark of recognition between two souls can be traced back to pheromones or childhood patterns or some evolutionary imperative to reproduce. And perhaps there's some truth in all that, but it misses something fundamental, doesn't it? It misses the extraordinary nature of what actually happens when two consciousnesses recognize something essential in each other. This recognition, it's not about physical attraction, though that may be present. It's not about shared interests, though those may develop. It's something far more mysterious. It's as if the universe itself, in its infinite playfulness, has arranged for two particular expressions of consciousness to meet and see through the usual masks we all wear, to see quite suddenly the eternal in each other. And you see, this isn't mystical nonsense or romantic fantasy. It's pointing to something very real about the nature of consciousness itself. We spend so much time thinking we're separate individuals, bouncing around like billiard balls in a random universe. But what if that's just the game we're playing? What if, at a deeper level, there's a connection that exists beyond the boundaries of individual identity? A recognition that transcends the mere accidents of birth and circumstance. Let me ask you something. When you look in the mirror, who do you see? You see a face, a body, a person with a particular history, particular memories, particular characteristics. And you've been taught quite thoroughly that this is who you are, this separate entity, this isolated consciousness peering out at a world that's fundamentally other than yourself. But here's the curious thing. This sense of separation, this feeling of being a lonely awareness trapped inside a bag of skin, is perhaps the greatest illusion we labor under. And most remarkably, we work terribly hard to maintain it. We build walls around ourselves, create elaborate identities, convince ourselves that we're fundamentally separate from the rest of existence. Now, when two souls recognize each other beyond time, what's really happening? You see, they're seeing through this illusion, if only for a moment. They're recognizing that the boundary between self and other isn't quite as solid as we've been led to believe. There's a sensing, a knowing, that the consciousness looking out through those eyes is somehow the same consciousness looking out through your own. This isn't about losing yourself in another person. That's just another trap, another form of the same illusion. Rather, it's about recognizing that the deepest part of you, the aware presence that exists before all thoughts and feelings, is the same aware presence in everyone and everything. When this recognition happens between two people, it can be absolutely staggering. The great sages of the East understood this profoundly. They spoke of it as recognizing the Atman in another, the divine consciousness that animates all beings. But we don't need to get caught up in Eastern terminology. The simple fact is this: beneath all the psychological conditioning, beneath all the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, there's something unchanging, something eternal, something that was never born and can never die. And occasionally, two people recognize this in each other. You see, time is a rather peculiar thing. We think we understand it, we measure it, slice it up into seconds and minutes and hours. We speak of past and future as if they were real places we could visit if only we had the right vehicle. But all we ever actually have is now, this present moment, this eternal now that's always here, regardless of what the clock says. When two souls recognize each other beyond time, they're stepping outside the stream of chronological time. They're touching something eternal. Now, this doesn't mean they've met in some previous lifetime. Though that's one way of interpreting the experience, what it really means is that the connection they're experiencing exists in a dimension that isn't subject to the ordinary flow of time. Think of it this way. In our everyday consciousness, we're like characters in a story, moving from one scene to the next, from one chapter to another. Birth, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, old age, death. That's the timeline we exist within. But what if there's another perspective, one that sees the entire story all at once? From that perspective, all moments exist simultaneously. Past, present, and future are all equally real or equally illusory, depending on how you look at it. When two people connect at this level, they're not connecting through their temporal identities, their stories, their histories. They're connecting through that which exists outside of time altogether. That's why it feels like recognition rather than mere attraction. Because in a very real sense, they've always known each other. They always will know each other. The knowing exists independent of whether they happen to meet in this particular lifetime or not. This is tremendously liberating when you really see it, because it means that true connection, genuine recognition between souls, isn't dependent on circumstance. It isn't dependent on being in the right place at the right time. It's dependent on seeing through the veil of temporal existence to what's eternal and unchanging beneath it all. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The universe, you see, is not a dead thing. It's not a mechanism running down like some cosmic clock. It's alive, it's aware, it's conscious, and more than that, it's playful. It likes to play hide and seek with itself. What do I mean by that? Well, imagine for a moment that you're the only consciousness that exists. You're infinite, eternal, omnipresent. You're everything and everywhere at once. Sounds rather wonderful, doesn't it? But here's the problem. If you're everything, there's nothing to experience. There's no one to talk to, nothing to discover, no surprises, no joy of recognition, just endless, unchanging unity. So what do? You play a game. You pretend to be separate. You divide yourself up into apparently individual consciousnesses, each one seemingly isolated from all the others. You forget temporarily that you're actually the whole thing. And then, and this is the delightful part, you set up situations where different aspects of yourself can recognize each other, where the one consciousness can experience the joy of discovering itself in another. That's what's happening when two souls recognize each other beyond time. It's the universe recognizing itself, its consciousness delighting in the discovery of its own nature through the apparent meeting of two separate beings. The thrill, the excitement, the sense of coming home that people feel in these moments isn't because they've found their other half. It's because they've momentarily awakened to the fact that there are no separate halves. There's only the whole, pretending to be divided, and occasionally letting the pretense slip. This recognition can happen in romantic relationships, certainly, but it can also happen between friends, between teacher and student, between parent and child, or even between strangers who pass briefly in the night. Anytime two people drop the masks and the roles and the identities, even for a moment, and see the eternal in each other, that's the dance of consciousness recognizing itself. We all carry stories about ourselves, don't we? Elaborate narratives about who we are, where we came from, what we've experienced, what we believe, what we want, what we fear. These stories are tremendously important to us. We protect them, we defend them, we even go to war over them. And yet, they're not quite real, are they? Oh, they're real in a certain sense, real as stories are real. But the character in a novel is real in a rather different way than the paper the novel is printed on. The story of your life is real in a rather different way than the consciousness that's aware of the story. And when two souls recognize each other beyond time, they're connecting not through their stories, but through that which is aware of the stories. This is why such recognition often feels completely irrational. You meet someone and you just know something about them, not based on what they've told you, not based on their appearance or their credentials or their resume. You know them in a way that transcends all personal history, because you're connecting with them at a level that exists prior to personal history. Now, the mind doesn't like this at all. The mind wants explanations. It wants to know why you feel this connection, so it starts making up stories. Oh, we must have known each other in a past life. Or, we're twin flames, destined to be together. Or perhaps, this is just chemistry, just hormones, just biology. And all of these explanations might have some validity, but they're missing the main point. The main point is that the deepest recognition happens in silence. It happens in the space between thoughts. It happens when the mind, with all its chattering and explaining and story making, finally quiets down for a moment. And in that quiet, there's a direct knowing. A knowing that doesn't need words, doesn't need explanation, doesn't need justification. It simply is. When you meet someone and this recognition occurs, pay attention to what's happening before your mind starts creating narratives about it. Notice the pure experience of it, the sense of familiarity, of ease, of coming home. That's happening in the dimension beyond personal story. That's happening in the eternal now, where all beings are already connected. There's an old saying that other people are mirrors for us. And this is profoundly true, though not in the way most people understand it. We tend to think it means that others reflect our qualities back to us, that if we dislike someone, it's because we dislike those same qualities in ourselves. And there's something to that. But the mirror goes much deeper. You see, what you're actually seeing when you look at another person is yourself, not your personal self, not your ego, not your story, but your essential nature. The consciousness looking out through their eyes is the same consciousness looking out through yours. When you truly see another person, you're seeing your own face before you were born, as the Zen masters say. Now, with most people, we don't see this. We see their appearance, their personality, their mood, their social role. We see the surface of things, and they see the surface of us. We engage in a sort of dance of surfaces, masks interacting with masks, roles playing out predictable patterns. And there's nothing wrong with this, really. It's part of the game we're playing. But occasionally, very occasionally, the masks slip. Two people look at each other, and suddenly they're not seeing the surface anymore. They're seeing straight through to the essential nature underneath. And because that essential nature is the same in everyone, they recognize themselves, not their personal selves, but their true self, their original face. This is what happens when two souls recognize each other beyond time. They're seeing themselves in the other. And this seeing is utterly transformative, because once you've really seen your own true nature in another person, you can never quite go back to believing you're just an isolated individual. The illusion has been punctured, the game has been revealed as a game, and here's the beautiful thing. When this happens, there's no need to cling to that person or that relationship, because you realize that what you recognized in them exists in everyone, in everything. It's not personal, it's universal. That particular person just happened to be the mirror that showed you your own true face, but once you've seen it, you can begin to recognize it everywhere. Now, there's something we should address. When two people experience this kind of recognition, there's often a very powerful pull toward each other, an almost magnetic attraction. And this can be quite confusing because it feels different from ordinary attraction. It feels fated, inevitable, as if the universe itself is pushing you together. Many people interpret this pull as meaning they're supposed to be together, that this is their soulmate, their destined partner, the one person in all the world they're meant to find. And sometimes perhaps relationships do form from these recognitions that are quite wonderful. But here's what's important to understand. The pull isn't about the other person. The pull is about truth. What you're being pulled toward is reality itself. You're being pulled toward a deeper understanding of your own nature. That person has become a doorway, you see, a doorway to something you've been seeking all your life, even if you didn't know you were seeking it. They've shown you, if only for a moment, what it's like to be awake, to be truly present, to be connected to the whole of existence. But here's where people often make a mistake. They think that to experience that awakeness, that presence, that connection, they need to be with that particular person. They need to possess them, hold on to them, make them part of their life. And when they can't do that, when circumstances don't allow it, or when the other person isn't interested, they suffer terribly. They feel as if they've lost their only chance at happiness, at fulfillment, at truth. But you see, the truth that person showed you isn't located in them. It's located in you. It was always in you. They simply reflected it back to you clearly enough that you could see it. And while there may be a genuine appreciation for that gift, a genuine love for that mirror, the mirror is not the thing itself. This is why the greatest gift you can give to someone who has awakened recognition in you is to not cling to them, to not make them responsible for your continued awareness, to take what they've shown you and allow it to transform your entire way of being in the world. That's what honoring the recognition really means. Recognizing another soul beyond time requires tremendous courage, because when you truly see someone, you become vulnerable. You drop your defenses, your carefully constructed image of yourself, your protective strategies. You stand naked, in a sense, in the presence of another consciousness. And that can be absolutely terrifying. Most people go through their entire lives never truly seeing or being seen. They keep the masks firmly in place, the roles carefully maintained, the walls well defended. And there's a certain safety in that. You can't be hurt if no one really sees you. You can't be rejected if no one knows who you actually are. You can't fail at intimacy if you never really attempt it. But the price of this safety is enormous. The price is loneliness. The price is disconnection. The price is moving through life as a ghost among ghosts, never quite touching, never quite connecting, never quite experiencing the extraordinary intimacy that's possible between human beings when they drop their defenses. When that moment of recognition comes, you're faced with a choice. You can pull back, retreat into your familiar patterns, tell yourself it was just a moment of weakness or confusion, or you can lean into it. You can allow yourself to be seen, truly seen, for perhaps the first time in your life, and you can see the other in return, not as an object for your desires or needs, but as another expression of the same consciousness you are. This seeing, this mutual recognition doesn't require any particular outcome. It doesn't mean you have to form a relationship or even see each other again. What it does require is that you honor what's happened, that you acknowledge the gift of being seen and of seeing, that you allow it to crack open something in you that perhaps has been closed for a very long time. And here's what's miraculous. Once you've had the courage to truly see and be seen by one person, it becomes easier to do it with others. The recognition becomes more available. You begin to see the eternal in people everywhere. Not all the time, perhaps, not in every interaction, but more and more the world becomes populated not with separate, threatening strangers, but with different faces of the same consciousness you are. There's a paradox at the heart of this whole matter of souls recognizing each other. The paradox is this: true connection brings freedom, not bondage. When you truly recognize another soul, when you see through to their essential nature, you become more free, not less. You become more yourself, not less yourself. This is completely counter to what we usually think about deep connection. We tend to imagine that getting close to someone means losing our independence, compromising our freedom, adapting ourselves to their needs and expectations. And certainly, in conventional relationships, there's often an element of this. People try to change each other, control each other, possess each other. But when the connection happens at the level we've been discussing, none of that occurs. Because you're not connecting to the person's personality or their story or their needs. You're connecting to their essential being. And essential being, consciousness itself, is already completely free. It doesn't need anything, doesn't lack anything, doesn't want to control anything. So when you meet someone at this level, there's a tremendous sense of spaciousness. You can be completely yourself. You don't have to pretend to be something you're not. You don't have to play any roles. You don't have to maintain any images. You can simply be. And in that being, there's a joy, a lightness, a freedom that's quite unlike anything else. This is why the greatest love, the truest connection, always sets the other free. It doesn't cling, it doesn't demand, it doesn't try to possess or control. It simply appreciates, it delights in the other's existence, it celebrates their being exactly as they are. And in that celebration, both people are liberated. Now, this doesn't mean there's no commitment or no depth to the relationship. Quite the contrary. But the commitment isn't born out of fear or need or desperation. It's born out of recognition, out of the simple joy of sharing existence with someone who sees you and whom you see. That's a very different kind of bond, one that survives separation, transcends distance, endures beyond time itself. So we come back to where we began. Two souls recognizing each other beyond time. What is it really? Is it fate? Destiny, karma from past lives? The answer is both simpler and more mysterious than any of these explanations. It's simply life becoming aware of itself, consciousness recognizing its own nature, the universe looking at itself with fresh wonder and delight through two particular pairs of eyes. There's no need to make it more complicated than that, though of course we will, because that's what minds do, they complicate. But in the moment of recognition itself, there's no complication, there's just a profound simplicity, a sense of, oh, there you are, I've always known you. And that knowing isn't based on memory or experience or past encounters. It's based on the fundamental fact that at the deepest level, there's only one consciousness, one awareness, one being. And occasionally it delights in recognizing itself. This recognition is available to anyone, at any time. You don't have to wait for that one special person to come along. You don't have to believe in soulmates or destiny or any particular spiritual framework. You just have to be willing to see, really see, not just the surface of things, not just the masks and the roles and the stories, but the essential nature that shines through everything and everyone. And when you do see it in another, when you recognize that timeless consciousness looking back at you from another pair of eyes, honor it. Don't try to possess it. Don't try to make it fit into your plans or your ideas about how life should unfold. Just appreciate it. Be grateful for it. Let it remind you of what you really are beneath all the layers of conditioning and identity, because that's the ultimate gift of recognition. Not that you've found someone else who completes you, but that you've been reminded that you were always complete, that you were always connected, that you were never, not for one moment, actually separate from the whole of existence. The meeting was just a mirror, showing you the face you had before the world began.